us live here in a moment. He is the founder and CEO of PinchForth and My Dash. He helps businesses understand their growth patterns and build systems for growth. And today he's going to be talking to us about achieving digital growth in the age of fading media platforms. So as we all know that media is changing drastically. The last year has been crazy. I was just listening to a podcast yesterday with one of the media analysts in finance talking about how all the media companies thought they were going to have to take on all the PPP they could get, and they were going to have to lay everybody off, and media was just completely going by the wayside. And things have changed, but media platforms and media companies are not gone forever. But I'm sure you have lots of thoughts on this, Nick.
Quite a few. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's great. So we're running a little late, but we'll dive right into your topic and your thoughts on media currently, and looking forward to hearing it.
Perfect. I've got a timer on the right, so I'll try to go lightning speed. This actually couldn't have worked better. I didn't realize that Robert was going to talk so much about incoming trends, because that's actually going to be the theme of this. And I'll conclude my piece by going out on a limb and making some predictions. Okay. So I think reach out to him if you want to figure out if they'll be real or not. So first and foremost, Nick Petros. I work with PinchForth and Dash. PinchForth is a growth services firm that tries to understand how a business grows, whether that's attracting consumers or attracting other businesses to be your customers. And Dash is a data services business. So it's not a software platform, although we do have proprietary tech. Dash specializes on connecting all the disparate sources of information that you have within your organization together. Much like Robert was talking about a minute ago, understanding your internal sources, we tie into that entire pipelining system to help folks understand where they're going and better control in real time how they're performing. So the agenda today, I wanted to look at the last 12 months. I think the catch-up bit was fascinating. I have a couple others to drop in here. Again, from my perspective, we'll talk about the changing media landscape. We'll talk about what the future of business might look like. And then again, I'll share some fairly unique perspectives on what things could actually turn into in the very imminent future. Cool. So this past year, and this is all from a growth in media perspective, but the rise of the solopreneur, never have you had more consultants kind of moving into this space. Many by choice pre-pandemic, and many by necessity. Companies downsized. There's a lot of uncertainty early on, and that forced a lot of folks to go out on their own. What that's meant is the availability of really incredible talent to help folks understand their growth challenges and market and communicate better has multiplied. Similarly, the number of companies advertising online is also multiplied, which has led to this media decay that folks are feeling. And what I mean by that specifically with Facebook and Google, even Amazon, return on your money isn't the same. Whether you're targeting businesses or you're targeting end customers. And I have a couple thoughts on why that is and what's coming next. So number two, virtual work. In addition to hiring experts, it's never been higher outside of your organization. Team internal staff has worked remotely. So the difference between an external service provider and an internal resource, has never been smaller. And I think that's going to change a lot of the way we grow and the way we think about growth, and subsequently the way we approach media. The start of DeFi, so I'm not sure how close you guys are to the cryptocurrency movement that's happening. Not sure how real it is or what it's going to turn into long term, and I make no recommendations to get involved. But what's fascinating to watch is actually the rails underneath all of these cryptocurrency exchanges. Different ways that money can move back and forth, and very specifically smart contract regulated interactions. So in media and Google and Facebook, we have these things called pixels that signal when a user is changed from one digital platform, so google.com to my website, so mydash.ai. The pixel is the device that communicates that action. What's happening, underneath all of this DeFi activity is an entire financial system is stood up on technological signals, just like that. For anyone who's wired money before, send an ACH transfer, only to see your money disappear until it may or may not show up in your bank account 3 days later. Those two things could be more starkly different. And what that means for the way that we compensate employees, the way we hire external staff, the way we control and regulate equity, is dramatically going to change the way that work happens and subsequently that growth happens. Then at the bottom, consolidated media and politics. We don't want to talk about politics. I think that's still a no touch. But over the last year, the two have kind of become one and the same. Whether you're on Facebook, CNN, Fox, you're reading the same stories and they're told through the same lens. And I think that's really forced the consumer, which Robert's team does a lot to study. I think that forced the consumer to look outside of traditional mediums, outside of Facebook, outside of Google, away from their cable news channels, for information that they can feel closer to. And that's really going to change the way that we grow imminently. So media evolution, what happens when consumers, which are Facebook and Google's like end product, whether they're business shoppers or direct customers, stop coming to these platforms to buy or stop joining at such a rapid pace. I think Facebook has 2.3 billion users. You could not be more market saturated. Google similarly. What happens when they can't grow? To increase revenue, increase sales, they have to sell more advertising to the same people and charge more money for that advertising. So if you have any money, whether it's B2B or B2C, running through either of these two platforms, you've noticed a steady decline in return on spend over the last 6 to 8 months. Specifically, in conjunction with that steady decline, you've noticed steady removal of control. Because what's happening on both Google and Facebook, they're removing levers that allow the end advertiser to actually control their investment, and creating an ecosystem they can control so they can maximize the value of every impression that they have, knowing that they're not going to get more. So big changes coming really soon. We expect that decline to continue. And our team at PinchForth is working pretty hard to push folks into other channels. If you're not already exploring affiliate marketing, whether it's B2B or B2C, it's growing faster than ever. Although it's a 3-decade-old channel, older than Facebook, it's growing faster than ever. It's all performance-based, and now's the time to get in. So number 2, the rise of user-generated content platforms. You might have read some about Facebook, censorship and control. They're acting a little more like a publication. I think Google's been doing this for a while, but it's been more in the limelight lately. So users are moving to platforms they can trust a little more, and also segmenting the platforms that they get themselves involved in based on their interest and their needs. So, if you're here, you're part of the conference, likely you're already a member of One Business World, or you're one click away from being a member. I think that's the future. The LinkedIn's maybe will remain utility for a period of time, but I think eventually they'll go the way of the old yellow pages, and platforms like One Business World that are specialized to global community of leaders will really lead the way forward, and allow the end consumer to choose where they put their data, where they spend their time, and regain some of that control of the information they consume. And then finally, so this is kind of the kicker, the gimme of the presentation. But growth becomes a lot more about tracking and much less about media. So with users moving away from Facebook, moving away from Google, tuning out of cable news, how do you reach them? I think, and we're jumping to predictions, but I think what's going to happen is that commerce is going to be a lot more personal. Harken back to 70, 80 years ago when you bought from the guy you knew because he was down the street and you've been looking at his store sign for ages. I think that's going to happen again. I think folks that you communicate with on One Business World, folks you email with all the time, they're going to be your new Googles and your new Facebook. So growth in the very, very near future is going to be more about how accurately represent your business, and a lot less about how much money you can spend and how clever you can get at qualifying prospective customers through digital traffic. So I think that bubble's over. Future of business. So with authenticity in mind, and the way that folks consume changing so rapidly, and with a virtualized workforce that's not all that different from your outsourced resources, I think the customer partner dynamic between businesses and consumers is going to change dramatically. Customers are going to feel more like part of the product that they're consuming, and they're going to choose to participate in businesses that make them feel that way. It's going to help earn trust a little faster. It's going to allow them to consume more rapidly. It's going to maintain relationships long term. So I think that's going to be a big change. There's going to be a human resources bubble. So whether you're researching this, you're already working in this space, you're thinking about getting into it, hiring is going to be a problem long after, this summer. And I think that's going to open up a lot of new business opportunities, particularly with the virtualized relationships that are kind of dominant now too. And then we just talked about the return of pre-digital business growth. It's all about authenticity. It's going to be based on the relationships that you have with the company, how deep your financial relationship gets with them. And then finally, so these are just my predictions. These are based on industries I follow closely and some tech companies where we're very closely tied into. But if you haven't followed augmented reality or mixed reality, it's not accounts receivable. AR is augmented reality. Microsoft has a product called the HoloLens. Magic Leap was famous for raising billions of dollars for their Magic Leap 1. Magic Leap 2 is now about to release. But this is the projection of visual information, much like the screens you might be looking at now, onto an actual lens in front of you. And that's going to change everything. If you remember 2007, 2006, when Apple came out with the touchscreen phone, the screen allowing you to interact with all this information you could only consume through your laptop changed the way people buy, the way people communicate with one another, the way they discover product, the way they socialize, everything. And the screen was the pivotal innovation. Augmented reality is going to eliminate the need for a screen. So imagine a world where you have no monitor, no laptop screen, no cell phone screen. All the visual information that you need is projected through a lens that's on your face, so you can access it at any time. You can see as much or as little as you want. That's going to be revolutionary, and it's 12 to 18 months away, I think. Smart contracts we talked about, underpinning of the cryptocurrency movement. Smart contracts will change the way that folks pay one another in businesses. So imagine paying someone in real time with a digital currency. There's my timer. With the digital currency as they're completing work. So it both validates the work and remits payment. That's going to be transformative. It's already moving into e-commerce. So we expect that to bubble. And then 3, media is democratized. So people will choose where they get their information. It's not going to be about a dominant strategy on a major centralized platform. And I think media platforms like One Business World, networks like One Business World are going to make up the future of the way we consume. So representing yourself authentically and finding a way to have a presence on all of those platforms is going to give you real tentacles into the customers of your future. So that's my roll through. If you guys are curious, we just launched this. It's in demo mode, so it's a little buggy, but the front end of Dash, our framework, is available to test for free at get.mydash.report. If you have Google Analytics, a Google product, on your website, you can connect your own data and see it through our Prism. And again, the business specializes in bringing more sources into that interface, so you can kind of see how we look at things. But this is us. Thank you so much for listening. I hope some of my wild ideas and predictions are thoughtful for you.
Thank you, Nick. That was fantastic. And yeah, it really did actually tie into what Robert was just speaking about as well previously. So we appreciate your presentation today. And as always, if anyone ever has any questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the chat, and hope to see you again soon, Nick.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.